You get out of bed. You make your coffee, drive to work, answer the emails, pay the bills, and check off the boxes. From the outside, you look completely fine. You look like a fully functioning adult. But deep inside your chest, there is a ghost town. You spend your days moving through a heavy gray fog, carrying a quiet, haunting sensation that your actual life has not actually started yet. You are not crying. You are not screaming. You are simply hovering. You are standing in the foyer of your own existence, staring at the door, perpetually waiting for a signal, a change of season, or a sudden realization that will finally grant you permission to start living. You tell yourself that once you get that promotion, once you move to that new city, once you lose 10 pounds, or once you find the right partner, the real movie will finally begin. Society looks at your routine and tells you that you are just bored. They tell you to get a new hobby, download a new productivity app, or take a vacation. But you are not bored. You are caught in a profound biological and philosophical purgatory. You are living in a state of functional freeze, bound by the invisible chains of what the great existentialists called deferred existence. It is time to understand why your life feels like a waiting room and why the door you are waiting for is not going to open from the outside. Act 1. The biology of the frozen mind. To understand why you feel detached from your own days, we must look first at the raw, primitive biology of your nervous system. When society talks about stress, they talk about two states, fight or flight. If a predator attacks you, your heart rate spikes, your blood pumps, and you either turn and fight the lion or you sprint away. But there is a third, far more sinister biological state that modern medicine is only beginning to fully understand. The freeze response. When an animal is pursued by a predator and realizes it can neither outrun the threat nor fight it off, the brain executes an emergency protocol. The parasympathetic nervous system slams on the brakes, the heart rate drops, the muscles go limp, and the mind dissociates. The animal plays dead. It enters a state of profound numbness, so that if it is consumed, it will not feel the full agony of the bite. You are not fighting and you are not running. You are in a functional freeze. Modern life does not present you with physical lions. It presents you with an endless barrage of micro-threats, economic instability, digital overload, social pressure, and unhealed childhood wounds. Your nervous system has realized that you cannot physically run away from your job, and you cannot physically fight your landlord. So it pulled the circuit breaker. You can still walk, talk, and type. You can perform the mechanical tasks required to keep you employed and fed, but your emotional center, the part of your brain that experiences awe, deep connection, joy, and presence, has been taken offline. You are playing dead to survive the modern world. You sit in the waiting room because your nervous system has calculated that remaining still is the only safe option left. Act 2. Heidegger and the tyranny of the they. This biological paralysis creates a profound philosophical crisis, one that the 20th century German philosopher Martin Heidegger spent his entire life trying to unpack. Heidegger argued that most human beings live their entire lives in a state he called inauthenticity. We do not live as our true sovereign selves. Instead, we surrender our agency to what he named das Man, or the they. Think about how you make your choices. Why did you pick that career? Why do you buy those clothes? Why do you hold those specific milestones as the definition of success? Because they said so. They said you should get a corporate job. They said you should buy a house by 30. They said you should act, speak, and structure your days in a very specific, acceptable manner. Heidegger observed that falling into the they is comforting. It removes the terrifying burden of personal responsibility. If you simply do what everyone else is doing, you can never be blamed for failing. But the cost of this safety is absolute. You lose your Dasein soul, your being there. When you live according to the they, you become a spectator in your own life. You are acting out a script written by strangers. You feel like you are in a waiting room because you are not actually present in your own choices. You are waiting for someone else to step onto the stage and tell you what scene comes next. You are living a life of proxy, watching your years pass by through a pane of thick glass, waiting for the they to grant you permission to be yourself. Act 3, Nietzsche and the eternal recurrence. If Heidegger identified the diagnosis of the waiting room, the Friedrich Nietzsche handed us its ultimate nightmare test. Nietzsche posed a thought experiment so terrifying that he believed it would either completely shatter a human soul or forge it into something divine. He called it the demon of the eternal recurrence. Nietzsche wrote, "What if a demon were to creep after you into your loneliest loneliness and say to you, 'This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more. And there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh must return to you, all in the same sequence and series.' Would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke thus? Look at your current daily routine. Look at the way you move through your mornings, the way you numb yourself on your phone for 3 hours every night, and the way you quietly defer your passions to an imaginary future. If a demon appeared to you tonight and informed you that you were condemned to repeat this exact day, this exact level of numbness, this exact routine, over and over again for eternity, how would you react? If the thought of the eternal recurrence fills you with cold, sickening horror, it is because your soul knows you are wasting your time in the waiting room. Nietzsche believed that the ultimate human goal was amor fati, the radical love of one's fate. To achieve amor fati, you must create a life so authentic, so intensely felt, and so deeply aligned with your true desires that you would eagerly choose to live every single second of it again and again forever. When you spend your life waiting for real life to begin, you are committing a quiet blasphemy against the present moment. You are treating today as a disposable step toward an imaginary tomorrow. Act 4, Kierkegaard's anxiety and the leap of faith. Why is it so hard to leave the waiting room? Why do we stay in the gray fog even when we know it is eroding our spirit? The Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard gave us the answer. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Kierkegaard explained that true freedom is terrifying. When you sit in the waiting room, your options are limited, but your risk is zero. You don't have to face the terror of true choice. The moment you step out of the waiting room, the moment you decide to quit the soul-crushing job, write the book, speak your truth, or leave the safe, dead relationship, you are forced to look down into the absolute, yawning abyss of infinite possibility. In that moment, you experience the dizziness. You realize that you and you alone are responsible for the outcome of your life. If you step out onto the stage and fail, you cannot blame the they. You cannot blame your circumstances. You have to look in the mirror and accept that you failed. To avoid that terrifying dizziness, your brain retreats back into the waiting room. The waiting room is gray, miserable, and suffocating, but it is predictable. It offers you the comfortable heroin of safety. You choose the quiet misery of the known over the terrifying glory of the unknown. Kierkegaard insisted that the only way to escape this spiritual paralysis is through a leap of faith. You will never feel fully ready to leave the waiting room. The fog will not magically clear before you take the step. The nervous system will not naturally calm down while you are standing on the edge of the cliff. You have to embrace the dizziness. You have to accept the panic of true freedom, close your eyes, and jump into your own life before you feel prepared. Act 5. Leaving the foyer, the waiting room is an illusion. There is no doctor who is going to call your name. There is no letter coming in the mail that will suddenly validate your existence. There is no future version of you who will magically wake up one morning with zero fear and unlimited courage. This gray, messy, terrifying, beautiful day, this exact, unrepeatable moment, is not the rehearsal. This is the show. To break out of functional freeze, you must stop treating your life as a draft. You must execute a cold, deliberate betrayal of the waiting room. Start by honoring your nervous system. Recognize that your numbness was a shield, but understand that the shield has become a cage. You break the freeze not through massive, heroic leaps, but through micro-rebellions against your own routine. Stop asking the they for permission. Express the opinion that makes the room uncomfortable. Drop the project that deadens your soul. Allow yourself to be seen as messy, unpolished, and intensely sincere. Look the demon of the eternal recurrence dead in the eye and make choices that you would willingly repeat for eternity. Embrace Kierkegaard's dizziness. Feel your heart beat fast, let your hands shake, and step through the door. The waiting room only exists as long as you refuse to walk. Open the door, step out into the blinding light of your own terrifying freedom, and finally, aggressively, begin to live.